Are the heroes of the DC Universe ready to confront the truth about their very existence? Well, let's hop into the pages of Doomsday Clock issue number 9 and find out for ourselves, shall we? Alright then, so this one actually opens up with Dr. Manhattan. We get a nice look into his mind and his very unique perception of time. He talks about a member of the Legion of Superheroes, who in the future will actually sacrifice their own life to save the entire universe. Dr. Manhattan had found this member's ring, and because of that, seemingly changed DC Universe history to try and save this person for some reason. Now, following what happened in the previous issue with Firestorm exploding in Russia and Superman being put into a coma, the heroes have all gotten together and figure they're going to need to get to the bottom of this. And I mean, it's a veritable who's who. You got your Justice Leaguers, you got your street level heroes, your magic heroes. The Doom Patrol has shown up because they're very popular on TV right now. Perhaps most interestingly of all, though, we also have the Charlton heroes: Blue Beetle, Nightshade, Captain Atom, The Question, you know, the characters that the Watchmen are actually based on. You would think in a story like this they would end up being way more important than they actually ended up being. Shame that. Also, hey, Nightwing is back to being Nightwing and Batgirl is back to wearing her new 52 costume. Make of that what you will. Now all of this is going on, Lois Lane goes to see her comatose husband. Obviously everyone in the world, from the superhero community to Joe and Jane Sixpack, are pretty terrified over whatever could put Superman in a coma. Then there's all the political blowback too over what Superman and Firestorm had done in Russia. The American president, who goes unnamed and unseen, is getting pressured from all sides to denounce the superhero community and pass Nixonian laws, not unlike the one in Watchmen. And again, I say he goes unnamed and unseen, but he talks about huge changes and how Superman was very bad and very dumb. Make of that what you will. Now, with the heroes putting their minds together, they're able to track Dr. Manhattan all the way back to his stronghold on Mars. Batman is the only one who actually knows what they're dealing with in this situation, but he's so banged up, it's all he can do to try and send them a distress call. Too bad he's on Earth and they're in space, so that's gonna take at least 12 minutes the good guys don't have. Now hey, because this is indeed a Jeff Johns book, it's the Green Lanterns who actually get to go first onto Mars and scout the area. We got all your favorites here: Hal, John, Jessica. Even Guy is there, but not Baz, because Baz might be dead in Heroes in Crisis. Once again, the actual timeline of these events are hard to peg. It's around this time too Firestorm starts to come to. Ronnie feels absolutely terrible about what went down, how he was manipulated, but for once the good guys actually believe their friend in this situation and want him to be able to redeem himself. Well damn, isn't that refreshing? And Firestorm goes to work right away using his alchemic powers to create air on Mars for everyone to breathe. Well, now that is helpful, isn't it? Eventually, the Heroes Coalition manages to corner Dr. Manhattan in his base. Granted, is a guy as omnipotent as this ever truly cornered? Martian Manhunter is able to read Dr. Manhattan's mind and through that figure out everything that he's been fearing about his possible future confrontation with Superman, wherein Manhattan will either die or the entire universe be extinguished. And you know what? These two very well could have kept talking as cordially as they were if it not for old dumbass Guy Gardner wanting to throw the first punch. Put some pants on, man. I've had it right up to here with all your tachyon jibber jabber. Let's throw hands. And once the fight is started, it really doesn't stop. It's Dr. Manhattan versus the entire DC universe, and he takes them apart piece by piece, first by dismantling Gardner's Green Lantern ring. It's the magic heroes, though, who probably get it the worst, all trying to rush Dr. Manhattan at once, only for him to literally take a look at the source of magic in this universe and go, oh, that's so cute, that's so adorable, you think you're actually doing magic. Oh, no, my sweet little dumb babies, this is the corrupted code of creation you're playing with right here. This was meant to be thrown away. This is garbage. You're all garbage. The only person who actually manages to get in a half-decent hit in this battle is Firestorm himself, who Dr. Manhattan begrudgingly respects for the amazing abilities that he possesses yet never seems to be able to use. Manhattan could probably have beaten this guy up physically, but instead he decides to go for the mental TKO by taking him back in time to the day that him and the Professor were first fused. Turns out Dr. Stein has actually been lying to Ronnie this whole time. He was in on the Superman theory and actually manipulated events so that they would become Firestorm in the first place. Now, back on Earth, some other major revelations goes down. Lex Luthor Thor sneaks into the Hall of Justice to talk to Lois. Turns out he's actually the one who sent her the flash drive on the JSA. It would seem that as much as Lex hates Superman for what he does to mankind and invalidating many of his own achievements, he really hates Dr. Manhattan for invalidating, well, pretty much the entire universe with his existence. And then there's poor Diana in her role as Wonder Woman and counselor for the Themyscira tries to keep the world from descending into full-on war by addressing the United Nations and calling for peace. Too bad though Black Adam and his forces caught wind of this and figuring, hey, with all the superheroes out in space, now would be a perfect time to strike. And it's on that note right there that the comic comes to a close. So that was Doomsday Clock issue number 9, everybody, and even though the wait in between issues on this series continues to be hellacious, I feel this issue right here actually started delivering the things people actually wanted to see from this series, mainly what would happen if the DC Universe fought Dr. Manhattan. I don't know if that's what I personally wanted out of this story, but hey, there it is. I think the bigger, more meaningful questions moving forward is how exactly did Lex get a bunch of information from a bunch of heroes that don't exist anymore? What connection do the Legion of Superheroes have to Dr. Manhattan, and why was he willing to go to bat for them seemingly out of nowhere? I do hope those questions get answered. As far as pure spectacle goes, well, it's going to be hard to top this one for a little bit. I would give this issue an 8.5 out of 10. Pretty enjoyable stuff.
Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again. I want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out some of these other videos I have on offer. Then you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at Cape Joel, so you're always up to speed on what I'm doing next. And hey, did you know I have a Twitch and gaming page now? That's right, I do. If you head on down in the description, you'll find a link to the Joel Daily channel where I re-upload my streams, as well as the Cape Joel official Twitch channel where occasionally I do live stuff. If you're around, I would love it if you watched. I'm sure you'll have a good time. So until then, everyone, this has been Cape Joel, and I will be back again with more great comic content that smacks of greatness. Bye-bye.